question, where is God, is a question that surfaces among us every once in a while. And it's in the Bible several times. Most often in the book of Psalms. Job is also another book that questions, where is God? In Psalm 115, the writer says, our God is in the heavens. He does whatever he pleases. The heavens are the Lord's heavens, but the earth he has given to human beings. I love that verse, he does whatever he pleases. I didn't put that on the screen for you. But it's a wonderful image. The heavens are the Lord's heavens. So the biblical writers, writing 3,000 years ago, thought God is up there, in the heavens, in heaven. God inhabits the sky. Sky and heaven are the same thing to the psalmist. It's an ancient and universal answer to our question, where is God? God is up there. It might be the first answer that you and I learned as a child. Maybe we learned it in Sunday school. Maybe we learned it from our mom or from our grandma. Maybe we heard it on the playground as a kid from a friend. God is up there. It seems simple, doesn't it? God is up there. We are down here. Earth is here. Not so fast. What does it mean if we understand God to be in the heavens? The sky is quite complex, and we are understanding that through our scientific achievements. Where does the sky begin? Where does it end? It's both visible and invisible. We see clouds and stars and rainbows, but we don't see atmosphere and oxygen and wind. The sky is multi-layered. It's not one big ball. It consists of a 5-layered atmosphere and then deeper outer space. It's this atmosphere that protects us. It keeps our planet safe from the icy terrors and all of the chaos that is above this 5-tiered layer. And of course, down closest to us, it keeps us alive by containing the oxygen that we breathe. Have you ever thought of yourself as being in the sky? I don't mean on an airplane or in a spaceship, but I mean all the time. Do you realize that we are like the birds? We are in the sky. Our feet touch the ground. The gravitational pull keeps us on the ground. But other than our feet, the rest of us are in the air. We are always in the sky. The sky is where we are. We always breathe the sky. Yet the sky at the same time is also a place that we can't go without oxygen, or airplanes, or hot air balloons, or spaceships. The sky is something we see, yet it is so vast and complex and incomprehensible. And so I ask you the question, what do you see when you go outside and look up at the sky? The psalmist in Psalm 19 saw beauty, and he writes, heaven is declaring God's glory. The sky is proclaiming God's handiwork. Well, it must have been a really good day for the psalmist, and the streets of Jerusalem must have not been packed with too many chariots at rush hour time, because it's a glorious picture. But for the prophet Isaiah, which John just read to you, it was a much different view out there into space. You You see, Jeremiah was under attack from a powerful king named Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar ruled Babylonia. Babylonia was the power in the earlier 6th century BC, say, or 7th century, 620 down to about 530. Nebuchadnezzar ruled over the Mediterranean world. Nebuchadnezzar ruled in an area that is near present-day Iraq and near Ur, which is where Abraham started his journey. Jeremiah has a terrifying vision of the earth and sky, and he writes in verse 23 of chapter 4, I looked on the earth, and lo, it was waste and void, and to the heavens or the skies, and they had no light. What is he seeing? Jeremiah, this young prophet from Jerusalem, seeing the powerful armies of Nebuchadnezzar come. What happens to Jerusalem, Jeremiah's city, that makes him look up to the sky and have this terrifying vision? Well, it's fire. It's burning. It's the burning of Jerusalem. It's the burning of the temple, the desecration, and the razing of the buildings that Jeremiah is seeing. His beloved city is burned and the temple razed. And you see, such is the way of the world in which we live. Because some days our world is beautiful, like the psalmist says. It's wonderful, and we walk on the beach with our loved ones, and there are beautiful clouds overhead, and the sun is out, and the ocean, the waves are coming into the shore, and the sound is beautiful, and we're getting all the vitamin D that we need, regenerating our body, our soul, and our mind. And some days are not so wonderful. The sun disappears, and the winds blow 130 miles an hour, and the ocean turns deadly, and the torrents of rain fill the sky. And some of our church family were there to see that last week. Lynn and Brian and Janet and Kent and Lisa and Russ and Alexa and Cameron. And they left early because the skies grew dark. The day is filled with fear and worry, and homes and lives and belongings, and infrastructure is destroyed. And we call this destruction Florence. Sorry for all of you who are named Florence. Today is Sky Sunday. It's the third in our Season of Creation series. Next week we'll look at the mountains. The Season of Creation gives us an opportunity to renew our covenant with God, to serve and sustain all of life, to recognize that life is interconnected, that we are not the center of the world, that life is in relationship, and we are in relationship with the rest of life, that everything in this world has its sacred place. Sky Sunday. The sky is the biggest thing that most of us will ever see on a daily basis. And on a clear, dark night, we look up to the sky and we feel so connected with God as we look at the planets, and sometimes we look at the stars and we see our ancestors there. Yet other people gaze toward the heavens and they feel a sense of despair, because what we see is our environmental crisis around us and what humankind is doing to destroy the beautiful skies of God's creation. Church, it's important that you and I have some understanding of what humanity is doing to the air around us, the abuses and the violence done to our planet, our skies, our air, the effects of global warming and climate change. Church, we live in God's world, and God is always there for us. And there is a good word in today's lessons, because in today's lessons we find God offers us a word of forgiveness. And so may we hear that word of forgiveness, and may it inspire us to work together to create an even more pure and clean sky. We know that clean air is essential. We know that we have to have air to breathe. We breathe, every one of us. The average person breathes in 3,000 gallons of air every single day. And at the same time we inhale life-sustaining oxygen, we also breathe in the byproducts of our lifestyle, the choices that we have made, our car fumes, the industrial and agricultural emissions, chemicals and off gases from synthetic products that we fill the cabinets of our homes with. 4.6 million people die every single year because of air pollution. 4.6 million people. Not only is air pollution the biggest single environmental health risk, air pollution is also the leading cause of cancer deaths. And we know that. We also know that the accumulation of greenhouse gas emissions in the upper atmosphere contributes to global warming and climate change. We know that. Everyone knows that. 2.4 million pounds of carbon dioxide are released into our air every single second. 2.4 million pounds of carbon dioxide released into the air every single second. How much space can there be for this amount of carbon dioxide? Nearly 3/4 of human-caused greenhouse warming comes from fossil fuels, coal and oil and gas. The choices that we make to power our cars, to heat our homes. China is the biggest carbon dioxide polluter on the planet. And during President Obama's administration, the United States and Germany were the only two countries that reduced their carbon emissions. President Obama's Clean Power Plan was to reduce 30% of carbon dioxide emissions into the atmosphere, 30%. by the year 2030. And we know that that is now being overturned by the present administration to turn back a whole host of clean air regulations, and under President Trump's plan, by the year 2035, our carbon emissions will only be reduced by 1%. Global warming, clean air. Not only is the temperature of our Earth being raised due to these emissions, but its effects cause severe storms. It threatens the biodiversity of our whole planet. It contributes to illness, and it causes flooding in coastal areas. And some of our island nations are seeing their entire coastlines being wiped away. Jeremiah claims that the most devastating behavior of the people of Judah, which is simply the region around Jerusalem, is that they no longer know God in their hearts. That was his reason for the army of Nebuchadnezzar to come down and destroy Jerusalem. Probably wasn't so. But he did see the people, the behavior and the attitudes of the people turn from God into their own self-interest. They no longer know God deep in their hearts. And Jeremiah says, when you no longer know God, then all of creation suffers from that. The consequence is that when humanity lives only for itself, when we see ourselves as the center of the world and of creation, and when we forget our interrelatedness and our connection to all of creation, the animals and the plants and the sun and the moon and the stars, when we forget that, then creation suffers. And when creation suffers, you better believe we do too. Some Christians and people of faith deny climate change, despite all of the facts and the science around us. Some Christians and people of faith say it doesn't matter. God will take care of us. God will clean up our mess. But this isn't the teaching of Scripture. This isn't what our texts tell us. Our texts teach us, nurture, care for the planet, the skies, the earth, the animals, the flowers, the plants. The Bible teaches us stewardship, a lifestyle of living simply and humbly and within our means, whether as individuals or as families or as entire species. Simple living. A lifestyle of caring for that around us as much as we care for ourselves. So church, when you leave here today, go outside. And when you go outside, look at the sky. What is the sky telling us? What message is written across this beautiful sky? Our air, the atmosphere of God's world, it all belongs to God. Everyone and everything in it. And as the people of God, we understand that our moral obligation is to protect the air around us so that these beautiful children and their children and their children will be able to enjoy the pure, clean creation that God has intended. The winds of God are rustling, and I don't mean Florence. And if we listen to the winds very closely, maybe we will hear the whisper of God. And maybe the whisper of God is telling us there is change coming. There is change in the air. And there is a calm that will fill our sky.